Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. We are learning more about Nick Reiner, and apparently, well, he had a conservator. Why did it stop? Timothy Busfield admits to, tickling kids. The au pair trial continues, and we've got an update. A wife makes let's just say quite a discovery on her husband's phone while he's at the dentist. We've got this day in legal history, our legal quote of the day, and our dumb criminal. Let's talk about it.
All right, lawyer.
Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. We have another great show for you today as we head into the weekend. I want to let you know that we're going to put up a video tomorrow. It's a conversation that we did with Mike King. Check it out. He's a good guy. We've known each other for several years. We saw each other at CrimeCon, and we had to reconnect. We finally were able to make schedules meet, so we're putting that video up tomorrow, so please check that out as well. Before we get to the docket, let me remind you, all right, you need to go to crimetalksearch.com and sign up. So I'm just going to tell you to go do it. But what you also need, ladies and gentlemen, is some Crime Talk gear. All right. Listen, the holidays are over. You didn't get what you wanted. You wanted Crime Talk merch. You wanted the keychain. You want it. Go hit the link below. Get it. Treat yourself. A keychain for $5. You deserve it. You can put it on there, support the channel, put it on your backpack, put it on whatever, your luggage, support Crime Talk. So go check that out. Let's go ahead and get to the docket today for January 16th, 2026. And first on the docket, Nick Reiner. He had a conservator. What happened? That's right. So Nick Reiner, the son of the renowned filmmaker Rob Reiner and photographer Michelle Singer Reiner, was placed under a year-long mental health conservatorship back in 2020, several years prior to his arrest for the murder of his parents. Now, according to the reports from credible sources, including the New York Times, Nick Reiner entered this conservatorship governed by California's Latterman-Petrus Short Act, LPS, which facilitates involuntary psychiatric treatment following hospitalization. A licensed fiduciary, Steve Baer, was appointed to oversee decisions related to his medical care and medication. The arrangement, which typically spans 1 year, and may be renewed, concluded in 2021 for undisclosed reasons due to confidentiality protections, obviously. What we do know is that Reiner had been diagnosed with schizophrenia and at times schizophrenic disorder, schizoaffective disorder, around 2020. He was prescribed antipsychotic medication that effectively managed symptoms such as hallucinations, paranoia, mania, and depression. However, the treatment produced significant side effects, including notable weight gain, prompting concerns from Reiner. Then, approximately 1 month before the tragic events of December 14th of 2025, his medications were adjusted to a different regimen at his request in consultation with medical professionals. Sources indicate that this change coincided with a deterioration in his behavior described as increasingly erratic, unsafe, and alarming in the ensuing weeks. His parents reportedly observed these shifts but faced uncertainty in addressing them effectively. No temporary psychiatric hold was implemented during this particular time period. So as you know, Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle, were discovered dead, murdered in their Brentwood, Los Angeles residence, having sustained multiple stab wounds. Now, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner ruled the deaths a homicide. Shocking, right? Anyway, Nick Reiner was arrested later that day near the University of Southern California campus and charged with the 2 counts of first-degree murder, including special circumstances involving multiple victims. Now, Reiner resided in his parents' guest house at the time, following a history of substance abuse, multiple rehabilitation periods, and episodes of homelessness. The evening prior to the incident, the parents accompanied him to a holiday gathering hosted by Conan O'Brien, motivated by concerns for his well-being. Attendees noted his antisocial demeanor and a public dispute with his father. People were concerned. Following his initial court appearance on December 17th, there was no plea entered. Reiner's private defense counsel, Alan Jackson, withdrew from the case back in early 2026, citing uncontrollable circumstances. Jackson emphasized his former client's innocence and emphasized that the legal process would establish the facts, asserting that California law supports a finding of not guilty, which means he's entitled to the presumption of innocence. Let's call it what it is. Anyway, the matter was reassigned to a public defender by the name of Kimberly Green, and the arraignment, originally set for January 7th, was pushed to February 23rd. Now, prosecutors have not yet determined whether they're going to seek the death penalty. A conviction could result in life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Now, obviously, there's cases going to show all the challenges with mental health issues and treatment and how we deal with it in the courts, particularly the complexities of antipsychotic medications and conservatorships. I mean, this is the classic case. This is going to be a huge educational experience for what people kind of in the trenches on a daily basis see when people have mental health issues. You have people trying to get them help. Sometimes the defendant with the mental health issues doesn't want to deal with those issues or thinks they're fine, they're cured, everything's great. And for whatever reason, oftentimes, kind of like the past performance is indicative of future results. Stop taking the meds, maybe something changes, they go back to drugs and it doesn't go well with the meds. And here we are. And then the question is, what do we do with them now? If they take their meds, they're good to go. They don't take their meds, they're a danger to themselves and to society. The question here is, obviously, there was a conservator and that ended. The question is, why? And not trying to blame anybody, but sometimes, and I get it, okay? I remember my parents dealing with my older brother, and I just kept saying, why do you keep doing this? Why do you keep doing this? And ultimately led to an estrangement. With both of my parents over all the stuff that I was dealing with my older brother. And all my dad would ever say was, well, if it's your kid, one day you'll understand. Thank God I haven't had to deal with those issues as it relates to my kid, but it was also my brother. And at a certain point you had to say, enough is enough. Get your act together. And, if Nick Reiner wasn't willing to get his act together and abide by the regimen and follow the doctors, at some point they had to let him go. And it really seems like the enabling in this particular case, I get it, the family had money, they had resources, they loved their son, they wanted to do everything they could for him. But at a certain point, you have to say enough is enough. And unfortunately, in this case, it came a little too late. Next on the docket, actor Timothy Busfield, facing charges for sexual abuse. Apparently, he admitted to the police he's a tickler. We'll talk about that. So, Emmy award-winning actor and director Timothy Busfield obviously has been charged with serious offenses related to alleged sexual abuse of minors following an investigation by the Albuquerque police. Now, the 68-year-old, recognized for his roles in West Wing, 30-something in The Field of Dreams, surrendered to police on January 13th of this year. Court records allege that Busfield engaged in criminal sexual contact with two twin boys identified by the initials, who are approximately 7 and 8 years old during the alleged time of the incident. Now, the boys appeared as child actors on the Fox series The Cleaning Lady, which Busfield directed and served as an executive producer on, with filming primarily in Albuquerque between 2022 and 2024. Now, one of the boys reported that Busfield touched his private areas on multiple occasions, including while lounging on a bed on a set. Now, the children have since been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety, and his brother provided a similar but less detailed account of some inappropriate alleged touching. But this, ladies and gentlemen, is why you never talk to the police, all right? During a police interview in November of 2025, Busfield described the set environment as playful and acknowledged it was highly likely he had physical contact with the children, such as tickling, though he denied any inappropriate intent or being alone with them without parents or teachers present. He suggested the allegations stem from retaliation by the boys' mother after they were not recalled for the show's final season. Well, the prosecution has also filed a motion this week seeking Busfield continued detention without bond, citing a pattern of alleged misconduct. The filing revealed an additional accusation from the father of a then 16-year-old girl who auditioned at B Street Theater in Sacramento, California, an organization Busfield co-founded several years ago. The father reported that Busfield kissed his daughter and touched her intimately during the audition. Busfield allegedly requested the family refrain from reporting the matter to police if he, went to therapy, an arrangement the father, a therapist himself, initially accepted. No criminal charges were ever filed in connection with that allegation. Now, court records also reference a prior claim after Busfield included the 1994 accusation from a 17-year-old extra on the film Little Big League, which he directed, resolved through a private settlement, and a 2012 incident involving alleged sexual battery at a Los Angeles movie theater, which was not prosecuted due to insufficient evidence. Now, Warner Brothers, the producer of The Cleaning Lady, conducted an internal investigation followed by this anonymous complaint via the SAG Screen Actors Guild union in 2025. The studio concluded that there was no evidence of inappropriate conduct or Busfield being alone with the children. However, the police affidavit criticized the studio for delaying compliance with information requests for nearly 3 months, routing employee interviews through legal counsel, and fostering an environment in which witnesses feared retaliation. Now, Warner Bros. Has stated it takes allegations very seriously like this and cooperate with law enforcement, and they maintain that they're not going to retaliate against anyone. Now, Busfield appeared in court on January 14th, where the judge ordered him held without bond pending further proceedings, including a hearing tentatively scheduled for January 20th. Busfield's attorney has characterized these claims as completely unfounded, noting that some prior allegations are decades old and unproven, and Busfield was recently dropped by the agency. Now, his attorney, Busfield's attorney, has characterized the claims as unfounded, noting that some of these allegations are decades old and unproven, and Busfield recently dropped by his talent agency, Innovative Artists, amid these recent allegations. His wife, actress Melissa Gilbert, has expressed support through a representative requesting privacy during the legal process. Now, I told you, this is why you keep your mouth shut, okay? Now, there's no doubt that Busfield was on the set with these kids. Kids say that there was some inappropriate touching. But the police detectives say, well, was there any touching of any kind? And he's, well, we were probably, it was a free-spirited and playful environment. And there was tickling going on. Take this back several years. The guy's in his 60s. Why is he tickling 7- and 8-year-old boys? Completely inappropriate. I don't care how relaxed the environment is. I can't remember the last time I went and tickled anybody that was 7 or 8 years old. It just doesn't happen, okay? But what the police did, they say, okay, well, kids say this happened. There was touching. Guess what? Busfield, unbeknownst to him, because, he was trying to explain away his side of the story, basically just corroborated these kids' stories. Now, of course, he denied it, but what's the prosecutor going to say? Well, of course he's going to deny inappropriate touching. That's why we're here. But he just said there was times where there was contact with these kids, right? Which kind of goes against the movie theater or the movie studio's investigation, now doesn't it? So that's why you never talk to the police, ladies and gentlemen. Never concede anything when it comes to an investigation that you don't know what they're talking about. It is the equivalent of putting on a mask and swinging at a piñata. And you go to that corner when the piñata, where you think the piñata is, but in reality, the piñata is back here. And you're swinging away, not knowing that you're basically missing the piñata, or in this particular case, you are getting screwed because they say, look, he corroborated there was touching. Of course he's going to deny inappropriate touching. And then the prosecutor's going to say, and why would the children make this up? They got paid. Sure, they wanted to be brought back, but the reality of it is, it's acting. That's what takes place. Next gig, so to speak. So we'll see how it goes. Now, Busfield is going to have a hearing, I think, early next week to see if he gets out of custody. I'd be surprised if the judge didn't allow him out on a bond, even though there's these allegations of alleged other misconduct. Busfield's entitled to the presumption of innocence at this stage of the proceedings, and it's very unlikely, since these are not exactly the same situation, though prosecutor will argue this is 404B evidence of other wrongs or misconduct to show absence of mistake, motive operandi, something along those lines under the rules. But, these are boys. The other one was a girl. The ages are different. You have to make all those distinctions to say it's not relevant at all. And, people settle cases all the time for nuisance value. We'll see how it plays out, but it's going to be interesting. Next, we have an update on the au pair trial. That's right, in Fairfax County, Virginia. Testimony revealed that Brendan Banfield, the 39-year-old former IRS agent accused of aggravated murder, relocated his former Brazilian au pair and alleged mistress, Juliana, into the master bedroom of his home within 8 months of the February 2023 killing of his wife, Christina Banfield, and another man by the name of Joseph Ryan. Now, prosecutors allege that Banfield orchestrated the deaths as part of a scheme to pursue a relationship with the au pair, who was then 25, by eliminating his wife and framing Ryan for the crime. Now, Banfield has pled not guilty to the charges and faces the possibility of life imprisonment. He also faces separate counts of child abuse and felony child cruelty relating to his then 4-year-old daughter being present in the home during this incident. Now, the Fairfax County Police Sergeant Kenner Fortner, who initially documented the crime scene back in February of 2023, returned to the residence approximately 8 months later as part of an ongoing investigation. He testified that personal items previously observed in the au pair's separate bedroom included red lingerie-style clothing and a distinctive yellow T-shirt with green trim had been transferred to the master bedroom closet. And Fortner further noted that significant renovations to the room, such as new flooring and furniture, and observed the family photographs depicting Banfield and his late wife had been removed and replaced with images of Banfield and the au pair together. Anyway, the lead detective, Terry Leach, described the initial discovery of evidence in the master bedroom, including a knife concealed beneath the bed blankets with its blade facing upward and the handle oriented towards the bed, as well as 2 handguns that appear to have been repositioned after first responders attempted to aid Ryan. Now, according to prior testimony from the au pair, who pled guilty to a reduced sentence for manslaughter as it relates to Ryan's death, the gentleman in the house, and is cooperating with police. She and Banfield developed an intimate relationship while she worked as the family's au pair. She stated that Banfield expressed unwillingness to pursue divorce due to financial concerns and custody issues involving their daughter, prompting the pair to devise this plan to get rid of Christina Banfield. This allegedly involved creating a fictitious profile in Christina's name on a fetish-oriented website to lure Ryan to the home under the pretense of a consensual romantic encounter, after which Banfield purposely stabbed his wife and then shot Ryan, staging the scene to implicate Ryan. Now, the au pair testified earlier in the week that financial motives and Banfield's desire for sole custody played a central role in the alleged plot. Now, the defense counsel challenged aspects of her account, including her recollection of specific details and communications, and highlighted letters she wrote from jail expressing emotional distress and prior loyalty to Banfield. The trial continues. We bring it here to you live. Make sure you check it out. And next on the docket, a wife makes quite a discovery on her husband's phone at the dentist. A Tennessee man faces serious criminal charges following his wife's discovery of explicit videos on his phone, according to police. Christopher Thomas Collins, he's 42 and formerly a deacon at the Abba's House Church in Hickson, Hamilton County, was arrested on 9 counts of especially aggravated sexual exploitation of a minor. The allegations stem from video depicting a teenage girl known to the family as a former babysitter and acquaintance in a private bathroom setting within the couple's residence. According to the affidavit, the investigation commenced when Collins requested his wife to hold his phone during a medical procedure at a dental office. Suspecting possible infidelity, she examined the device and located explicit recordings stored in a concealed folder. These files, timestamped in 2025, reportedly captured the minor entering and exiting the shower, using the toilet, and changing clothes, with footage appearing to originate from small hidden cameras positioned in the downstairs bathroom. In one instance, the teenager seemed to notice a camera while undressing. Upon confrontation, Collins reportedly claimed the device had been installed to detect rats in the ceiling and asserted that he had forgotten they were recording, later hiding the files to prevent jealousy on his wife's part. Distressed by the findings, the wife initially deleted some files but preserved evidence through screenshots from the device's recently deleted folder. She subsequently sought counsel at Abba's house, where church staff, upon learning of the involvement of a minor, promptly advised her to contact the police and arranging for some temporary hotel accommodations for her and her children. Police located and arrested Collins during a traffic stop. With consent, investigators examined his cell phone and recovered additional evidence, including 2 SD cards from a camera and an older model device. And during questioning, Collins allegedly acknowledged placing the recording equipment. The church has since removed Collins from his position as deacon, a volunteer role that he'd held for approximately 4 years. And in a statement, the church emphasized its immediate reporting of the matter to police and its focus on supporting the affected family through counseling and assistance during that period. Collins remains in custody at the Hamilton County Jail, and court proceedings are ongoing with scheduled appearance noted later this month. I think a couple issues here. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, why is the wife going through his phone? Just kidding. If your wife can't go through your phone, that's not a good thing. This guy creeping on the freaking babysitter. Ugh. Now we'll give him the presumption of innocence. We have to. But if the video speaks for itself and he's creeping on the babysitter, that's just wrong in so many ways. And then, to throw in that he's a man of God, double bad. Anyway, we'll see. We'll continue to follow that case. I guess the rule of thumb here is you can't trust your wife who's going to go through your phone. No, just kidding. Like I said, if you can't give your phone to your partner without concern, you really need to think about what you're doing and what's on your phone. Next on the docket, this day in legal history. January 16th, 1920, the 18th Amendment to the United States Constitution took effect and scheduled 1 year after ratification, marking the beginning of Prohibition. We all know how that turned out. Next, how about a legal quote? One of the most iconic and enduring statements regarding justice in American jurisprudence is the phrase, equal justice under the law, which is inscribed on the main entrance of the United States Supreme Court building in Washington, D.C. And a case that says, as the final arbiter of the law, the court is charged with ensuring the American people the promise of equal justice under the law, and thereby also functions as guardian and interpreter of the Constitution. And finally, our dumb criminal of the day. And finally today, our dumb criminal of the day. In a bold bid for viral fame that went spectacularly sideways, an 18-year-old Florida man was landed himself behind bars after attempting to transform a Walmart into his personal overnight Airbnb, all for the sake of a TikTok challenge. Now, according to the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office, deputies were summoned shortly after 11 p.m. on Tuesday to the Walmart on McCall Road in Inglewood following reports of a possible burglary. A concerned caller alerted police that a male remained inside the closed store and was broadcasting live on TikTok. Upon going in, officers located Isaac M. Hurley, nestled comfortably among the dog beds in the pet aisle. Investigators determined that Hurley had slipped into the store around 10:15, evidently intent on riding out the night to fulfill the popular 24-hour overnight challenge. His goal, deputies noted, was to monetize the live stream through accumulated views. Obviously, a modern twist on the classic hide until morning fantasy, apparently. Never heard of that one. Of course, adding insult to poor planning, police suspect Hurley also helped himself to an iPhone charger by removing it from the packaging while hiding out. Can you say burglary? Hurley now faces charges of burglary of an occupied structure and petty theft. He was transported to the jail where he was released after posting a $1,500 bond. Now, the sheriff down there, Bill Prummel, didn't mince words in his assessment of the incident. He expressed bafflement at the enduring appeal of such social media dares, which he described as blatant invitations to break the law. Citing prior fads from door-kicking escapades to acts of vandalism, the sheriff lamented that young individuals continue to place themselves in precarious positions for fleeting online attention. He went on to voice a broader wish that the platform's creative energy be redirected towards constructive pursuits, envisioning the potential to channel an entire generation into positive endeavors. The sheriffs contrasted that vision with the reality of law enforcement resources devoted to apprehending participants in ill-advised stunts pursued purely for likes and views. So in the end, what began as a quest for digital stardom concluded with a far less glamorous outcome, a night in custody, which he wasn't able to live stream. Yeah. Anyway, the episode serves as a little reminder there that some challenges are best left unattempted, especially when the prize is a mere temporary internet notoriety at the cost of permanent legal consequences, because this will go on his permanent record. That's right. Burglary, felony, stupid. Sir, you are a dumb criminal of the day. Congratulations, you made it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for you today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Had a busy day in court this morning. Have to run off and go do a federal court appearance. So have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Watch the show on Saturday. Check the recap on Sunday. And remember, the Constitution matters.